Today marks 5 years since COVID was declared a global pandemic. The virus affected all of us in some way.
Yes, and a lot has changed since then. Our Johan Marin shows us what's different now and how some in the metro are still battling the remnants of COVID.
John and Jacqueline, among those affected are small businesses. Some closed while others made major changes just to keep their doors open. Inside the Simple Man store off Pacific and Countryside Village, you'll find owner Boyd Redenbaugh selling men's clothing, grooming products, gifts, all with a classic style.
Not too trendy, so we don't have to worry and navigate those ebbs and flows of style trends.
Redenbaugh opened his shop with his wife in 2016, just 4 years before the coronavirus pandemic hit the metro. Like many small businesses, his went through a rough stretch at the start of COVID.
The biggest impact was the shock of it all, right? Was this really happening, and the unknowns? Were we going to be allowed to operate? Was it going to be mandated that we close down?
His store never closed, but business slowed. So he got creative, creating an online presence and a new experience for his customers.
And tried to do as much as we could to let people know that they could still shop with us if they weren't physically in the store.
As the city shut down, health officials remained on the front lines to keep us safe. The pandemic strained healthcare systems and reshaped scientific research.
We learned a lot about the way the virus was transmitted, and fairly quickly we were able to pivot and to take more aggressive action in respiratory protection and the value of masks.
Dr. Mark Rupp with Nebraska Medicine says it was a time of uncertainty, but 5 years later, they have a better grasp on what to do in case of a public health emergency.
We approach that with a little bit more transparency and perhaps a little bit more humility of really recognizing the things that we don't know.
While Rupp says we're past the pandemic, it's an unpleasant memory for many, like Redenbaugh.
Oh yeah, definitely tough.
Dr. Rupp says it's not sure whether a global pandemic will hit us again, but the best way to keep safe and protect yourself from any virus is to get vaccinated. In Omaha, I'm Johan Marin, First Alert 6.
Told First Alert 6 during the pandemic, telehealth care came on strong. CDC saying 37% of adults used telehealth in 2021.